How money laundering actually works. Criminals engage in the practice of money laundering to conceal the illegal origin of how they generate income. When money is cleaned of its illicit origin and made to appear as legitimate business profits, this is accomplished by transferring the money through a succession of businesses or a complex process of transfers and transactions. It is necessary to clean up the money. A significant challenge that large, organized criminal businesses, such as drug smuggling operations, face in their commercial operations is the fact that they end up with enormous sums of cash that they have to conceal to avoid drawing the attention of the authorities who are conducting investigations. Those who are the recipients of such substantial sums of cash do not like to be required to acknowledge it as income, which would result in the accumulation of enormous tax obligations related to income. To address the issue of possessing millions of dollars in cash that was earned via unlawful operations, criminal organizations devise methods of laundering the money to conceal the fact that it was obtained through illicit means. The purpose of money laundering is, in a nutshell, to conceal money that has been obtained through unlawful means by incorporating it into a legitimate financial structure, such as a bank or a business. Why and how does money laundering occur? 3 stages are commonly included in the process of money laundering. 1. The initial movement of a sum of money obtained through illegal behavior into a lawful financial network or institution is referred to as the initial entry or placement of the money. 2. Layering is the process of continuously transferring money through a variety of transactions, forms, investments, or businesses to make it extremely difficult, if not impossible, to trace the money back to its illicit origin. 3. When the money is spent freely and legally without the need to conceal it any further, this is the point at which final integration becomes possible. This is an example of money laundering. One of the most practical and straightforward approaches to washing money is to route it through a restaurant or other establishment that handles a significant number of cash transactions. This is one of the most prevalent methods. The definition of the word money laundering originates from the notorious mobster Al Capone's practice of laundering enormous sums of cash through a chain of laundromats that he owned. The following is a typical sequence of events that occurs throughout the process of money laundering. 1. Initial positioning of it. A criminal or criminal group is the owner of a legitimate restaurant establishment. From the restaurant, money that has been gained from unlawful acts is progressively transferred into a bank account. The restaurant's self-reported daily cash sales are significantly higher than the real amount of money it brings in. If the restaurant receives $2,000 in cash in a single day, for instance, this sum will be increased by an additional $2,000, which is money that was obtained through illicit operations. Additionally, the restaurant will make a bogus report indicating it had cash sales of $4,000 for the day. Now that the money has been transferred into the real bank account of the restaurant, it seems to be a typical deposit of the proceeds from the company's regular business operations. 2. Adding more layers of money. The restaurant can invest the money in another legitimate business, such as real estate, to deal with tax issues. This is done to prevent the restaurant from incurring an excessively large tax bill as a result of recording more revenue than it generates. Additionally, the restaurant may do this to further conceal the criminal origin of the additional funds that have been deposited. By utilizing shell corporations or holding companies that oversee many business enterprises through which the money that has been laundered may be channeled, the situation is further disguised from the authorities. The term layering refers to the process of moving money through a series of transactions, accounts, and businesses. For example, the money may be transferred through a casino to be disguised as winnings from gambling. It may go through one or more foreign currency exchanges. It may be invested in the financial markets, and it may ultimately be transferred to accounts in offshore tax havens where banking transactions are subject to much less scrutiny and regulation. It becomes increasingly difficult to trace the money and establish a connection to its original illicit source as a result of the various pass-throughs that occur from one account or one business to another. 3. Integration is finalized. In the latter stage of the process of money laundering known as integration, the funds are invested in respectable ways, either in businesses or in personal investments. The purchase of high-end luxury items, such as vehicles or jewelry, is one possible application for this currency. It is also possible that more quantities of unlawful funds will be laundered through the establishment of yet another company organization that will be created through this method. At this point, the money has ideally been sufficiently laundered so that the criminal or criminal enterprise can use it freely without resorting to any criminal measures so that they can continue their nefarious activities. After that, the money is often either invested lawfully or traded for expensive items such as real estate. What role do banks play in the process of money laundering? Money laundering is a common practice that commonly involves the use of major financial organizations like banks. All that is required is for the bank to relax its reporting rules a little bit when it comes to the situation. Because there is a lack of enforcement of regulations, criminals can deposit significant sums of cash without the deposits being reported to the authorities of the central bank or the government regulatory agencies. In recent years, famous financial organizations like Danske Bank and SEB have been guilty of aiding or allowing money laundering by failing to properly record large deposits of cash. This has led to the establishment of these firms as guilty of money laundering. It was discovered that SEB had been involved in the laundering of nearly $1 billion in the year 2012, while Danske Bank branches were suspected of having received an astounding $200 billion in money from Russian organized crime from the years 2007 to 2015. The process of washing money out of investments. The financial markets provide criminals with several different channels via which they can transform dirty money into clean money. Utilizing a foreign investor as a means of transferring income that has been obtained via criminal means into the legitimate financial system is one of the most fundamental and widespread techniques. Take, for instance, the scenario in which a criminal organization has $1 million in cash that it has to clean. When the criminal organization makes contact with an investor in a foreign country, it proceeds to negotiate a deal with that investment. Making use of an investor from a different nation is just one more method that can be utilized to conceal the origin of the money. Those responsible for the crime hand over their $1 million in cash to the investor. The overseas investor places the remaining funds into a legitimate domestic business that is owned by the criminal organization. This business is typically a shell corporation. After taking a percentage of the money as his fee for services, the foreign investor invests the remaining funds. Businesses that are known as shell corporations are those that have access to significant sums of finance but are not directly involved in any particular business venture that deals in the sale of goods or services. It is standard practice for a criminal organization to invest the money in other businesses, frequently ones that the organization owns legally. Because the criminals are taking precautions to conceal the fact that they have any kind of link with the foreign investor, the influx of cash that comes from the foreign investor does not appear to be anything other than a typical foreign investment. The criminals can have access to the money once it has been deposited with the shell company. This can be accomplished by having the shell company invest in another business that the criminals own or by providing the other company with a loan of additional funds. After that, the firm can default on the loan, which will result in a loss for the shell company, which can then be used to minimize the amount of payable taxes. This occurs after the company has returned the cash to the crooks. Because it has failed to make payments on its loan, the company that is receiving the money may file for bankruptcy and go out of business. The default on the debt could potentially result in the shell company going out of business. Organizations that conduct investigations into money laundering. A wide range of legal bodies frequently look into potential cases of money laundering. In the United States, the Federal Bureau of Investigation (FBI) and the Internal Revenue Service (IRS) are primarily responsible for money laundering investigations. As a result of the fact that money laundering has become such a significant issue, worldwide organizations have been established particularly to combat it. The International Money Laundering Information Network (IMLN) is a research center that was established to assist law enforcement agencies all over the world in the process of identifying and pursuing money laundering enterprises. This center is supported by the United Nations. Would you like it? Hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more interesting and informative videos.